Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kaustubha. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from sunny Alachua, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host Raghunath and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Black Friday, everybody. It's the time of year where prices are slashed. Just sort of, it's the consumer version of sort of Kartik, where your devotion is multiplied by 1,000. Here, bargains are multiplied by 1,000. Happy Thanksgiving. How was your Thanksgiving, Kaustubha?
Quiet. It was a quiet Thanksgiving.
I had a loud Thanksgiving, and part of the loudness was because he just walked in the door. Vishvambar is here. I'm here with Vishvambar and Gauravani. I love these two men. We're having like a special man date. The good man date. The good men, it's a men date. But just hanging out with dads and kids, and it's been super fun and super, super sweet. These guys, I met Vishvambar's father. Have you ever met him?
Yes, of course.
I never met him, or didn't like register, but he's beautiful, and he just sat there and sang. And I think I posted some of his kirtan last night on my Instagram stories. He's just like a sweet, cultured gentleman from Gujarat.
Mm.
And his mother's Italian. It's a great mix. And that's how you get a kid like Vishvambar's got such a good story. They used to, for those who don't know, they have this, the Hare Krishnas had this thing called Padayatra. It's the traditional way you go on pilgrimage, where you walk from village to village with an ox cart. And the ox cart carries your luggage, and then you have another ox cart that carries your deities, and then like everybody chants and walks town to town. Come here, Vishvambar. Come here. I'm gonna pull him in here. And his parents were like in charge of it. Here he is now. Look at this beautiful man. And he went. How old were you when you went on that Padayatra?
It was in 85. They were walking from the western coast of India all the way through the south, all the way up to the eastern coast of India. I was 2.
He was 2. What was I doing at 2? Anyway, so Vish has been to all these holy places, but he's been there by foot. He went to Badrinath by foot. Did you go to Kedarnath?
I haven't been to Kedarnath. I'm going with you.
Okay. Me and Vish are doing a Char Dham. Maybe we're just gonna walk. We'll get an exclusive crew to walk to holy places. Because when you do the Char Dham, the holy place in the Himalayas, if you go by bus, you got to take a bus up and down. You got to take a bus up and then go down. Bus up and go down. When you go the Char Dham, the real way, the walking way, you walk across the mountains, much closer. Isn't that interesting? Interesting. You got to write a book. I'm serious.
We'll do that together.
Too. Okay. Prabhu, I'm so happy to be here. Yeah, so it's just been nice just picking these guys' brains, talking to them, sharing fatherhood stories and Krishna conscious stories. It's been very, very good for my soul to be here.
Good.
Taking such good care of me. And then we were at Vera Budger's house. Remember Vera Budger from the Bhakti Center? If you don't know him,
remember
I know
him,
you
yeah.
remember him, but I'm saying Vera Budger had such a great. We had it was like a Krishna Thanksgiving where it was like delicious. It was fun. We had kirtan. It was just a sweet, sweet day yesterday. And then we had a big kid thing here in the evening. And today starts the festival.
Great.
Yeah.
How was Mara's Thanksgiving?
My Thanksgiving was really nice. It was sweet. Damodar Priyan, Amalini, and Uragaya, and my family, and Bobby Marchand, everyone. It was
Papa
fun.
Tony?
Bobby Marchand came too.
Yeah.
All right, so that's a big day. It's the introducing of Krishna to the non-Krishna family. How did it go? Was there
It
any
went well.
hiccups?
No,
It
no
went well.
hiccups at all. Yeah.
You're mature and you're delicate, because when I was young, I was not mature and I was not delicate. So when I came home on Thanksgiving that year, and I went home for other Thanksgivings, I was always convinced I'm about to convert my entire family. And I wasn't. And I would be like, okay, here's the deal. Madhvacharya believed in this. And then he was followed. See, before Madhvacharya, there was Shankaracharya. Now, Shankaracharya believed in, they were not interested one bit. And I really thought, I'm just going to have to explain the Vaishnava Parampara to them. They'll get it and they'll catch on. You see, there's one God. And all God, they didn't get it. They weren't interested in it. Their Christmas presents were nothing but incense and Bhagavad Gitas for years. And yeah, so I think Mara's got a more delicate approach. She's very welcoming. She's not, no expectations there.
She feeds them.
She feeds them prasad. She invites Damodar Priya over, whom everybody loves, and that wins their heart over. And yeah,
Okay.
it's always strangely awkward when
Sounds
you
like it
will
was
meet the
nice up
turkey.
there.
It was very nice.
You weren't there. How do you know?
Oh, up there. Yes. No, it was. I had my spy cam on Mara, making sure she's good. All right. And you had the parade going by your house, right?
Yeah, it was kind of like the morning was, I was in the middle of like the streets were like chaotic, and then it got real super peaceful, like the calm after the storm, once the parade was done. But I did send you the photo, right?
Yeah, he
Went up
sent
to
me
my
a
roof.
photo of Baby
Baby
Yoda
Yoda.
floating by Central
Yoda.
Park West. I was impressed, actually.
You liked it. I was surprised you liked it.
No, I love Baby Yoda.
All right. Well, he flew right on by. Huge.
Yeah. Can I give you a little transcendental nug, please?
Please.
May I share a transcendental nugget with you
Yeah. Yes.
to kick off? You know what I'm going to do later, too? I'm going to read shelter lyrics of Consumer, because it's the consuming day of the year.
Okay.
I just thought about that. Okay, ready? The word serendipity, which means the occurrence of or development of events in a happy or fortunate manner, a blessing. It comes from the Sanskrit Sharanadweep.
Sharanadweep.
Serendipity, Sharanadweep,
Sharanadweep.
which means the place of surrender.
Sharana means surrender. Dweepa
Right.
means place, or like island it even means, right?
An island of surrender. That sounds weirder. The concept is that as one surrenders his ego or will to God, the supreme being, things begin to unfold for him in a serendipitous or miraculous manner.
Mm-hmm.
So true,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
That's the Krishna miracles. He no longer has to endeavor with so much difficulty in order to attain his ends. But a higher divine power assists him by opening doors and sending people and circumstances his way, which turns his mundane life of struggle into a charmed and blessed life. Isn't that it?
It's so true. It really is. And who's that
Sharanadweep.
coming from, Raghunath?
That's coming from our favorite astrologer, Drew Lawrence,
That's right.
the master astrologer. We had a Krishna miracle on the way down here, actually. Remember that, Gauravani? We had a Krishna miracle. It was 108. It was 108. And we say, hey, check it out. It's 108. You know how sometimes you do that? Hey, it's 108. As we were driving by exit 108. Come on.
I'm not sure if that's what
Who
Drew
could have
Lawrence is
planned that?
speaking about.
Imagine if we were like, hey, at 108, let's drive by. You couldn't have planned that. But it happened.
you could
You know what?
plan
And
it.
it was Krishna's whisper to say, keep going. You're on the right path.
Okay.
That's how I took it.
But I think, the principle is actually quite, it is profound, that it takes some faith, doesn't it? But that if I give my, I always think back to that time where you say you walked into the ashram for the first time and someone said, why don't you just give this one life?
That was a great.
And that's surrender, though, right? It means like, I'm going to surrender. And what does surrender mean? Like, let's get real about it. It means you have to give certain things up in life and give up certain pursuits and certain attitudes. But
Yeah.
you do it with some faith that I'm reaching for something that has greater meaning and greater value and more virtue, and you do that, and you begin to feel, right. Like what happens is, like, if you have faith enough to begin that process, is that Paramatma within the heart begins to show you that it's working. I mean, look at us. We never went to college. But I find Krishna just gives me anything that I need,
Yeah. I'm
And to be
completely,
happy.
I'm completely unqualified for the material world.
You're unqualified. Yeah. But it's true. The more, and I see it in the lives of so many of my friends,
Yeah.
the more that they give of themselves, the more that they surrender, the more that they live for others, live for God and live for others, the more that they're cared for and they're happy. And that may manifest in their having wealth, or it may manifest in their living very simply, but being very happy, and whatever they need is provided.
There's that wonderful story in the Krishna book that's Krishna's coming, and he goes, and he has no money. Krishna has no money because he's a little baby, and he sees the fruit vendor, and the fruit vendor has all her fruit laid out, and Krishna has, not only does he have no money, he's going to pay her in rice. And Krishna's got just a little baby hand, and therefore all the rice is like falling through his fingers. And he gives the rice to the lady, and then there's practically only some rice grain stuck to his hand, and she gives him all the fruit. And then she goes back and she goes to open up the next.
But she
day.
gives. Why does she give him all the fruit?
Because she's charmed by young Krishna.
Out of love. Right?
She's charmed out of love.
It didn't. Nothing matters. I'm going to surrender it all. I'll just give it all.
I'm going to give it all.
Materially, it didn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense. Her fruit's worth much more than a little baby handful of rice.
Yeah.
But she opened up her unexpectedly she opened up her blanket of fruit. They keep it in a little, like a towel, and they opened it up, and there was valuable jewels.
Mm-hmm.
Krishna, we all have some. Krishna is asking us for our fruit. We all have some sweet fruit we have to offer, and I'm just sort of like hoarding it. And Krishna's saying, no, I want it. Don't offer it to the ego. Don't offer it to the material world. Offer it to me. And then in return, we become incredibly blessed. We feel joyous. There is a little bit of fear. I don't want to give this up. This is all I got. My ego's invested in it. And Krishna's asking us to take a little step forward. And it's going to mean letting go of some stuff that is sort of giving us a kickback. But that kickback is like a peanut compared to the massive vat of peanut butter you're going to get in return from Lord Krishna. That might be the first time that analogy has ever been used. Gora is just laughing at me. But the fact is, Krishna gives so much more, and we just have to give up this stuff, which isn't even actually fulfilling us.
I'm with you.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
That was it. It was good.
Serendipity. Now we know where it comes from.
Sharon Dweep. I know, that's what I said. He can't hear you. The mic is a special podcast mic. All right, let's dive into the Bhagavatam. What do you say?
I'm ready for it.
Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan. Unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayesh vabhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated. In loving service to the transcendental Lord, to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chaksur unmilitam yena tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Mara, hit it.
Reading from Canto 3, Chapter 28, Text 36.
28.
Text
Alrighty.
36.
You know who listens to the show every day, Kaustubha?
Who?
Jai Hari's mom.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she's into it. That whole family, because Mulika, who's his mother-in-law, also listens.
Mulika listens, and they're best friends. Mulika
Yeah,
and...
it's pretty cool, right?
Oh, sweet. All right.
So I think we were going to repeat the verse that we read yesterday, right? So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's 36. I
That's
think.
36, okay.
36. Okay. Thus situated in the highest transcendental stage, the mind ceases from all material reaction and becomes situated in its own glory, transcendental to all material conceptions of happiness and distress. At that time, the yogi realizes the truth of his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He discovers that pleasure and pain, as well as their interactions, which he attributed to his own self, are actually due to the false ego, which is a product of ignorance. So this is a reason why once you offer everything to Krishna and you've offered that ego to Krishna, there is a relief of the burden, Kaustubha, you know,
Thank you.
because you feel
That's a bit-
cradled. You feel cradled by the personality of Godhead. Like everything's okay, little baby Raghu. You feel taken care of and nurtured.
Yeah, but even, I'm with you 100%. But even if you look at it, like, if you kind of break it down a little bit more, like, analytically, you know, what it's showing here is, in other words, I'm with you on that. But at the same time, it's not just like someone's telling you everything's going to be okay, so you just change your mind or something like that, you know, or you just feel a sense of comfort. But the idea is that there's a reason why we're feeling the discomfort, or there's a reason why we are stuck. Here it's saying, let's read it again. Thus situated in the highest transcendental stage. We were reading yesterday about the yogis, through that meditation, they've elevated their consciousness now. It says that one becomes, the mind ceases from all material reaction and becomes situated in its own glory, transcendental to all material conceptions of happiness and distress. Now, so what does that mean? I'm free from all material conceptions of happiness and distress. And it goes on. At that time, the yogi realizes the truth of their relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We call that Svarupa. Here, generally, it's, you know, here the word is Sva-atman. Sva means one's own, and Atman means self. So you realize your own self, right? And you realize your own self in relation to your source, which is the Supreme. So at that time, the yogi realizes the truth of their own relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They discover that pleasure and pain, as well as their interactions, which they had previously attributed to their own self, are actually due to false ego, which is a product of ignorance. So in other words, why, sometimes we use like an example, like say you're in your apartment, right? And you hear, in your car is parked out in front of your apartment. And you suddenly hear a loud crash on the street below you. And you're thinking, oh my God, someone just crashed their car into my car. And so in that moment, in that instant, right, immediately there are changes that take place in the mind. And because the mind is so influential, it also affects one's body, right? Like one's heart is racing and one's blood pressure is increased. And even, people that understand more about biology could tell us like what kind of chemicals are being released by the different glands, in the body that are creating, different chemical reactions within the body that are consistent with like fear or anger, anxiety. And then you run to the window and you look down and you see, oh, they didn't crash into my car. They crashed into someone else's car, right?
In that ignorance, there's some fear, there's anxiety, there's
what I'm saying is then you feel a sense of relief at that point.
Right.
But why did you feel anxiety and why did you feel relief? Because you identify with your own car. You see it as connected to yourself. And so you thought, oh no, they hit my car. And you went through all the different kind of mental and physical.
Circumstances,
Yeah, you went on a ride there that you weren't even controlling yourself. It was you were being pulled, and only when you realized that it had nothing to do with you did you feel a sense of relief. So the yogi, they're looking at their own body and mind as disconnected from the self. Right. So in other words, what happens to the body and the mind, it's like that's someone, in one sense, it's someone else's car, like it's not me. And it's the false ego. It's mentioning the false ego here, right? It says they discover that pleasure and pain, as well as their interactions, which they attributed to their own self, are actually due to the false ego, which is a product of ignorance. I thought I'm my body. I thought I'm my mind. And because of that, I go through so much fear, and I go through happiness and distress. But all of this back and forth of happiness and distress, on and off, that really has nothing to do with me. I'm beyond all that. And so this yogi is now realizing that, right? They've realized their own self. And in recognizing that they're not the body and the mind, they're just the observer of the body and mind, they become free of that back and forth that we're all subjected to in this world. Okay, Raghu, you still
me
here?
likey, me likey.
That when I stopped, you can. At that point,
I was trying to say something intelligent, deep,
Okay.
and witty at the same time, and nothing came out of my mouth.
Well, you can just.
So all
move
that
on,
came
or
out of
we-
my mouth was me likey.
We can read the commentary if you like, or we could move on to the next verse.
Okay, that was
however you're feeling
36.
inspired. That was 36. Yeah,
Let's do the commentary.
it's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah. Forgetfulness of one's relationship with the personality of Godhead is a product of ignorance. By yoga practice, one can eradicate this ignorance of thinking oneself independent of the Supreme Lord. One's actual relationship is eternally that of love. I believe that. The living entity is meant to render transcendental loving service to the Lord. Forgetfulness of that sweet relationship is called ignorance. And in ignorance, one is impelled by the three gunas, the three modes of material nature, to think himself the enjoyer, the center, right?
Yeah.
When the devotee's mind is purified and he understands that his mind has to be dovetailed with the desires of the personality of Godhead, he has attained the perfectional transcendental stage, which is beyond the perception of material distress and happiness. Pretty nice stuff.
I love it. I love it. It's a very profound statement. One's actual relationship is eternally that of love. Like, that's who I am. That is my. Here the term was Sva-Atman, or commonly it will be Svarupa, right? Like, that's my natural situation. That's my eternal situation. My true self. It's what does that say? Eternal. It's a state of eternal love. But we tend to be out of touch with that. We lost touch with that. And we're on this ride, happiness and distress.
As long as one acts on his own account, he is subject to all the material perceptions of so-called happiness and distress. Yeah. Actually, there is no happiness. Good morning.
This is so good.
There is no happiness.
Yeah.
Just as there's no happiness in any of the activities of a madman.
Good example.
So in material activities, the mental concoctions of happiness and distress are false. Actually, everything is distress. Good morning.
We need to discuss this here, right?
I get it. I get it. It's a material world. Therefore, even the greatest things come to an end.
Yeah.
If you could think about the most fun experience you've ever had, it's over. And you think, how can I recreate that? And sometimes you try to recreate it and it doesn't recreate it. The idea of everything is distress is because everything is fleeting.
Fleeting, yes, but I think that's definitely part of it. Like, that's definitely part of what's being said here, But I think there's even more to it. And that, but you only really understand the more when you begin to read about Krishna's Leela, and you begin to understand about rasa, and you begin to understand like that state of ecstasy and how everything else is pale, like a pale, cheap facade in comparison. Even the happiness of this world, like, granted, it comes and then it goes, and that's problematic. But even in its perfection, like even when it's manifest as well as it can be in the material world, And we would look at that from our material perspective, say, wow, that guy's really got it going on now, right?
Got it
Like
together.
he's really riding high now, you know. But the fact is, okay, he's riding high and it's going to come down. That's one thing. But the other thing is from the spiritual perspective, from the perspective of one's divine connection to God that they're experiencing in all different types of varieties in the spiritual realm, even that riding high in the material world seems very pale in comparison. And, you know, reading this, I thought of that. There's an example of once, I think Srila Prabhupada was in Hawaii. It may have been California, but I think he was in Hawaii. And he saw these surfers, right?
He called them.
Well, he asked, what's going on? Like, what are they doing, right? And they said, oh, Prabhupada, those are the surfers. And then he called them sufferers. Right? He says they're sufferers. And, you know, you could look at them and say, well, it seems like they're having a great time, you know, right? But from a spiritual perspective, from the perspective of the Srila Prabhupada, it's like it's one thing is it's just like it's suffering because even if they think they're enjoying, they haven't actually experienced genuine enjoyment.
Yeah, it's relative.
Yeah, and so like here Prabhupada gave this really good example. He says, just as there's no happiness in any of the activities of a madman. Now you walk down the street, you walk down the street in New York, and you see all kinds of unfortunate, you know, people suffering due to madness, right? Like you see them on the streets. I just walk outside, I'll see people like that. And in their insanity, they may even be laughing and apparently enjoying. But any sane person looks at that and doesn't say, oh, I wish I was like that right now.
Right.
They realize that that's the most unfortunate condition that this person is in. And so from a spiritual perspective, even the material enjoyment is an unfortunate circumstance to be in because they just haven't understood the spiritual happiness, the spiritual ecstasy that is our nature.
You know, when I was younger, Special K, I was this was a tough bridge for me to cross. Not just
there's no
Prabhupada,
enjoyment in the material world.
Yeah, not just Prabhupada, but any, like I would read Swami Shivananda or these old books on yoga, and they say the material world is miserable and filled with distress and pain.
Right,
and I was
right.
like, what's up with these guys? Why are they so depressed all the? Then I'd read like The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale, and I was like, these guys need to change their attitude a little bit. They need to attitude. The world's great.
Let's talk.
But it's one of those things that
Raghu sit down with Swami Shivananda. I'm sure you two would hit it off.
Me and Shivananda, I would have loved Shivananda.
Yeah, he was a gentleman.
Sit down on my tiger skin. Someone wrote me in, by the way, someone from India and said, because we talked about this the other day, that it's not that the deer skin chases away the snakes, it's the kusha grass. There's something in the scent of the kusha.
I heard it the other way, but
yeah, I don't know what his.
Then why
I
do you
just
need
gave
the
him
deer
authority
skin?
because he was Indian.
All right.
Heard of anything like that, Vishwambar? Is it the kusha grass or the? Okay, he doesn't know. Okay, we don't know. We're still up in the air about that one. But my point was that when you read these things, like the material world is miserable, it's looking at it in a very zoomed out perspective, and material life is miserable, but spiritual life, and we're spiritual beings, is actually beautiful. Because we are in the training of seeing ourselves as everything is part of God.
Yeah.
Our loss, our pain, our struggles, our reversals in life. It's actually part of a benevolent plan to bring us higher, to bring us closer, to bring us more connected. The relationship that went sour, the vacation that, you know, turned out tragic, or whatever it is, it's all, everything is actually meant to lift us. And what I get stuck in is a world of that was good, that was bad, that was good, that was bad. And why are you saying everything's bad? You're just looking at the cup is half filled. I have had good vacations, I've had good relationships, etc. It's not. It's saying that we're an eternal being. Your spiritual life is incredibly positive. Be positive, optimistic about your spiritual life. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Be very pessimistic about matter. It's temporary. It's a sandcastle. It's not going to last. There's no return on investment in material life. The return on investment is in our spiritual life. It's a spiritual bank account.
I'm with you. And again, but I think both points are important here. What you're saying is very important. In other words, it's a fact. You're investing in something that it's got a time clock ticking on it, and it's going to disappear.
Time bomb.
Time bomb. And there's a spiritual alternative that's eternal. But also, and this is just why bhakti is so special, because you can read Bhagavad, like what Vyasadeva gives in the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam is really the greatest treasure, where you're going to read about Krishna, not only about Krishna, you're going to hear about God, and you can hear about God in so many places, and we've heard about God in the Upanishads, and we've heard about God in many different spiritual traditions, and it's all wonderful and valuable and important. But what you get in the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, which is the culmination of all of Vyasadeva's contribution, is you get the intimate vision of the love shared between God and those that have completely surrendered to God. We're talking about this surrender today, right? This is our theme. It looks like today, right? Is this
Surrender Dweep.
Sharnadweep?
Sharnadweep.
That
Surrender
place of
Dweep.
surrender. Yeah. So you get a vision of their experience, and only by getting that vision then you compare that, the rasa of the spiritual realm, and you really learn about it. And you learn about it in detail. You begin to get an understanding of it and a bit of a feeling for what it really is, what true happiness is, what true love is. And then you take that vision and you put it next to the reflection of it in the material realm, the reflected love, the reflected happiness, and then you begin to look at, and really part of the power of bhakti yoga is that when you look at material happiness through the lens of Krishna's Leela, it all appears very pale in comparison. And that's the vision that enables you to turn, to let it go, to turn away from it and to turn to the spiritual. And when you meet deep devotees, they've got that,
Yeah, like that groundedness.
Yeah.
Another thing is my whole theory of the positive mental attitude. It only works if you fully embrace the concept that life is eternal. There's no it's all good. It's not all good. If life is temporary, if all you get is this life, and then you get chronic disease, or someone breaks your heart, or you get a stab wound, or if you're a piano player and you lose your hands, it's not all good. It only works if life is eternal and I'm here to grow and I'm evolving. The whole philosophy gets sort of PMA gets shut down real quick if this is all I got is this lifetime, because material world can become tragic.
It does become, not can, but
tragic.
It will. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
in our eternal lifeline, then we can see we see how okay, these are lessons. I have to learn this lesson before I leave my body. I have to learn to let go of this bitterness, this resentment, this anger before I leave my body, and then I can pick up where I left off, and I'll be free in this life and the next. Mm-hmm. If I pass these tests, it's not just like, okay, now I go to heaven. No, I'll be free from the burden of carrying around those heavy things of the heart in this life.
Mm. Yeah, it's I never studied Western philosophy in great detail, but from just what I pick up here and there, apparently some of these philosophers kind of caught on to what you're saying, and they're viewed as very nihilistic,
like right? Nietzsche.
Yeah. His name always comes up first. Just throwing out words. Just throwing out names.
I'm impressing Mara. Look at her. She's like, oh, he's so wise.
But people that actually had that kind of real objective view of material life and just said it sucks. Right?
It's the existentialist. It's any deep person. Yeah. You start to drill into why am I here anyway? Are we just creating some story, some fantasy to live out when everything's actually going to end? Those deep thinkers, it usually goes one or two ways. They get into spirituality, like a Leo Tolstoy, or they get into nihilism or existentialism, where what's the point of living? Right. What is the point?
What's
right?
the point? Yeah.
And it's very depressing. It's very depressing or enlightening to think deep. That's why people are just sheeple. They just, I'm just going to go around. It's Black Friday. I'm just going to purchase things, feel happy, fall in love. That's going to be great. Right?
Yeah. You know, and I'll say this is that whenever you put forward, like what Prabhupada said here, you know, actually everything is distress.
Everything's
And then you give your you give your explanation for it, you know, on some level, and then someone counters and say, well, that's not the way I see things because blah blah blah. Okay, fine, but you're not actually really going to be able to give a full analysis. Come back to me, read the entire Bhagavad Gita. How about a whole entire Mahabharata, and then read the entire Bhagavatam and read commentaries on the Bhagavatam. Get a full picture, and then come back and let's talk. Because it's kind of like you're debating about something that you really don't know.
5 years later, I'm ready to talk. I've read the mob.
Well, that's the way real philosophers work. You know, it's like, how can you really comment on it unless you have that broader kind of understanding of all that's being presented there? What you take karma, and someone will throw back their objection to, like, say, the idea of karma. Well, have you really looked into it and understood it in great depth, and you know, all that's connected to it? It takes time to really do, to, you know, so before someone's so quick to reject it. And that's the kind of thing, like, if you're trying to explain to someone and they're coming across with their objections, you can kind of inform them of that, hey, you're just scratching the surface of this. There's so much more, you know.
That's why I don't explain it to anybody anymore, unless people want to know. Like if you're on Zoom, I'll explain it to you. If you're not here, and I'm not gonna randomly talk to people about it unless they want to.
All right, that's your policy.
Right. That's my policy, basically. Okay. You want it, I'll give it to you. If you don't want it,
it's not kind of like the cover of the No Compromise EP.
No, the No Compromise Shelter record. Reminds me. Okay, I got to pull up those.
Oh yeah, you're gonna read some lyrics to us. Black Friday themed. Let's hear it.
Yeah, consumer shelter, consumer lyrics. Here we go. Let's see if this is good.
I would assume that this was found on, what was it, Lyric Genius? Or
this is genius.com.
Genius.
Yeah, maybe it is
where they store all of Raghunath's writings.
Okay, ready? Magazines fill the aisles for hobbies, clothes, and styles, selling us more all the while. Commercials tell us what to acquire, planting seeds of desire, pouring oil on the fire.
Nice.
The consumer always pays.
Just slow down. Raghunath, your use of metaphor here is just...
You like it?
I like it. The seeds of the... Yeah. Continue.
Continuing on. The consumer always pays the fee with great hope and anxiety. That's the fee. But he's always left wanting more. And we're all hungry, that's agreed, but we don't know what we need. You see, there's more than just this body to feed. Advertisers create false necessities, sending us out on shopping sprees. One more thing, that's all we'll need. And sex sells, billboards rely on it. Any product with a woman trying it. Are you laughing or are you buying it?
Nice.
That's it. The consumer always pays the fee with great hope and anxiety, but they're always left wanting more.
Raghunath, that was excellent.
Thank you.
The bard of his generation, ladies and gentlemen.
The bard.
Ray Capo.
What do you think, Mara?
It's great. I like
Hardcore. What do you think? You like hardcore? I don't even care if she becomes a devotee of Krishna. I just want her to like hardcore.
Well, that's the first step.
All right. Continuing on.
Yeah.
That was good. It was a good verse.
Text 37. You like that verse?
I did.
It's all misery.
It's all misery. Because he has achieved his real identity, the perfectly realized soul has no conception of how the material body is moving or acting, just as an intoxicated person cannot understand whether or not he has clothing on his body.
It's an interesting verse. Yeah, I'm not sure if it was in Prabhupada's commentary here in Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. Well, we can read what Prabhupada said. Why don't you read Prabhupada's? It's just a couple sentences.
It's a little one, yeah. The stage of life is explained by Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. A person whose mind is completely dovetailed with the desire of the personality of Godhead and who engages 100% in the service of the Lord forgets his material bodily demands. So, you know, again, this is that Sharnadvipa,
this place of surrender. That when you fully surrender, then the things that the normal person becomes very concerned with, this person doesn't become concerned with, and it can even get to, it seems like even kind of like extreme,
Right.
where it's just like my body, my mind, it's all yours, God, and my role is just to surrender unto you. People can do wonderful things in that state of consciousness.
This is not like giving up. It's giving up, but giving over to Krishna as well. It's not just like I give up it's not giving up.
We
life.
mentioned,
It's trusting that this is meant to bring you somewhere.
We mentioned this on the show once in the past, and I know that Chapu looked it up, so maybe she can help us here. But there's a distinction between the words. There's different words for sannyas, and what was the other one? Tyaktva, I think, right? Where tyaktva means to like totally give something up, like you turn your back and walk away from it. But
Right.
there's another kind of renunciation where you place something, like in other words, I could renounce my money. I could just throw it out the window. Or I could find the person that I think
Been
is
there,
most
done that.
deserving of it. You throw money out the window, literally.
Of sorts.
Or I could find the person that I think that money would be best used by, and I can give it to them. And so that's kind of like, they're both surrender, right? You're giving up, you're renouncing in both ways. But one kind of renunciation is where you're like very consciously turning something over to someone else. And I think that's what you mean by that, right? It's like, I'm not just giving up on life, but I'm determining exactly how my body and mind will be surrendered, specifically where and to whom, and with an understanding of the benefit of it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Yeah, there's times where I feel like I've just given up on life, and there's times where I feel like I've given up to life I trust Krishna. It's a totally different mood.
Right.
All right. This is text 38.
38.
The body of such a liberated yogi, along with the senses, is taken charge of by the personality of Godhead.
Oh, yeah.
It's pretty cool. I'm going to say that again.
Say it again.
Just like those Instagram posts you read and it says, read that again. Like, tell me what
Like,
to
no
do,
way.
Instagram post. I'm not going to do it now just because you told me to do it.
I know. I scroll faster.
Read that again. The body of such a liberated yogi, along with the senses, is taken charge of by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and its function until its destined activities are finished. And its functions until the destined activities are finished.
That means one's karma burns out.
No one likes to be used. You say, that guy used me in high school, or that person used me, my boss used me. But in Bhakti, we want to be used. Krishna, use me. Take my body, take my intelligence, take my voice, take my thoughts, take my fingers, take my whole body. Use me for whatever you want. And then we just become like vessels of Krishna's desire. We become like Krishna just moves us. He speaks through us. He uses any talent we have. We want to be you. Use me, Krishna.
Yeah. Did you going to read the rest of the verse? Did you finish it? No, you just started it.
Did I finish it? No.
No, you didn't.
Liberated. I just got caught up.
Yeah.
Caught up in a
Why don't
moment.
you start it again?
The body of such a liberated yogi, along with the senses, is taken charge of by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and its functions until its destined activities are finished.
Okay, let's look at that. Let's just stay with that sentence.
That's a big one.
And let's try to understand it. The body of such a liberated yogi, along with the senses, is taken charge of by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, right now I'm being controlled by my senses. They're telling me this is going to make you happy, that's going to make you happy, and I'm buying things like you're saying, or I'm chasing after this or chasing after that because my senses are in control.
Right.
Now it's saying that God within the heart, right? He's right there. He takes control of those senses. You don't have to battle them anymore. He's got it under control, right? And so now I've lost all my material desires. My senses are not going to disturb me that way anymore. At the same time, it says, and it functions until the destined activities are finished. At the same time, I'm living in this body, which is going through all of its destined activities. It's going to age, right? is gonna become old. It's gonna become decrepit. I'm still connected to my family and all that they're going through. So like there's still karma playing out, but I'm not struggling the way that I was before. So I'm situated in a liberated state, even though it appears like I'm still a person enduring their karma like anyone else. Okay, next sentence.
Well, you know, I was thinking about arranged marriages, and I was
You
thinking
think about that too much, Raghunath.
it's an interesting concept.
Okay.
Listen to this one.
Yeah.
Every marriage is an arranged marriage. It's just,
Okay.
but the
It's a question of
classical
who's
way in
arranging it.
India. What's that?
It's
By
just
the
a
way,
question
I'm
of
not
who's
saying I
doing
could
the
ever
arranging.
do an arranged marriage the classical way, but but every marriage is it's
Okay,
either
let me
arranged.
ask you this, Raghunath. What if you're coming out of a marriage now and you don't know whether you would like to again or not? I believe, right?
Are you really going to ask me this on
No, that's what I'm
live?
saying.
Or-
What if a trusted Vaishnava? What if like your most trusted Vaishnava said, Raghunath, I have someone to marry for you to marry, and
And I'll be
you know,
like,
you don't know
listen,
them.
I was just fascinated with arranged marriages. I'm not
I
saying I'm ready
know.
for this,
But what if they said, I have the perfect person for you.
but you
trust me."
can't see them till the wedding day.
Exactly. What would you do it, Raghu?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe.
I mean, maybe that would be much better than you might come up with, due to the dictation of the mind and
What
the
if I
senses, right?
trust you to do it?
Oh, now we're talking.
Maybe you would be that person.
Now we're
Unless
talking.
you have some deep secret anger for me. Or
Not at all. I have
resentment.
nothing but love and the best wishes for you.
Yeah,
Raghunath.
take this, Raghunath.
Okay. Now let's play. Now let's play. Back
Wait,
to
you
you.
missed my whole thing.
What? He's lost it. This topic is too potentially distracting.
No, my point is, it's arranged by the parents, right? It's arranged by the
Yeah.
astrologer. They're all doing
Right.
that's an arranged marriage. Or
Yeah.
you get your lust to arrange the marriage.
Okay.
Huh?
There, I like that.
You get your faulty
Senses.
intelligence, your broken picker.
Programming
Right?
in the mind.
Yeah, like I'll pick him. Oh God, my broken picker. I'm always picking the wrong guy or girl, whatever. Yeah, so it's being arranged by something or some force or some energy or your parents and the astrologer, and
Mhm.
but it's always arranged.
Okay.
Just thought that was an interesting little.
No, tidbit. No, that was good. Okay, let's continue.
Exhausted me.
Let's try to finish this verse if we can.
Okay, yeah, the verse isn't even finished. The liberated devotee, being awake to his constitutional position and thus situated in samadhi, the highest perfectional stage of yoga, does not accept the byproducts of the material body as his own. Thus, he considers
Byproducts
his.
being children. Notice.
Yeah, they're not mine. These kids aren't mine. Does not accept the byproducts of the material body as his own.
And maybe that also means one's wealth, one's possessions.
Yeah, those are the byproducts, I guess.
Yeah.
Thus, he considers his bodily activities to be like the activities of the body of a dream. That's a very, very heavy statement. But it's true. It's
It's
dreamlike.
true.
It's dream. Why? Because in a dream, everything appears solid, real, factual. Even my heart is racing in a scary dream. Sometimes I sweat in a scary dream. Sometimes we laugh in a scary dream. Sometimes we fall in love in a positive, loving dream.
Mhm.
But it's temporary. It's not real. Even though, I've had dreams where I wake up, I was like, "Ugh," you're completely still in the dream. I've even heard people say they wake up from the dream. They're like, "Oh man, I had a great dream. I'm going to go back to bed. I want to get back in that dream." Like that's how real it is. I want to re-enter the dream.
Imagine this. Like here, Prabhupada's saying a dream, and Prabhupada's writing this in the days before virtual reality, right? So virtual reality is like a dream. And in some ways, it's even a stronger analogy than dream. And so imagine, Raghunath, like you're plugged into the virtual reality, right?
Hmm.
And so within that virtual reality, you have a body. But you also know that it's a virtual body, but it feels very real. And then say you're in that within that virtual body, that body becomes harmed in some way. let's say like a finger gets cut off of it or something like that, and because you're plugged into it and because it's wired up to your nervous system, you feel the pain of the finger getting cut off, right? But at the same time, you know that your real finger has not been cut off. That's something what it's like for this yogi, right? In other words, it's talking that their karma is still running, right? That God's taking control of their body, and it's functioning this way until the destined activities are finished, until you've paid all of your karmic dues. But at the same time, although you're going through
karmic dues,
but at the same time, as you're going through your karmic dues in this lifetime, you know this body is not me, and the circumstances that I'm in are in a sense virtual. It's like a dream. And so even though you might feel the pain of the finger getting cut off, you're not feeling the mental anxiety that you'd feel if your real finger got cut off.
Just because a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of realized knowledge.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. So that's how I understand this. Let's read this. Let's read the whole verse again, right? The body of a...
What do you think of this? What do you think of this analogy? Tell me if you like it. If you like it, I'll keep using it. A child is with the mom, right? And they're playing and they're playing, and the mother goes outside, and the child's actually all alone. And the child's playing like and then all of a sudden the child starts crying. Everything's actually fine, but the child with the mother not there is now in total fear and anxiety with mom not there.
Okay,
that's it.
so that's analogous.
In
so
ignorance,
as the child in the house is feeling fear
and anxiety, but actually she's quite fine. The mother's just outside the house, but the child is feeling fear out of ignorance.
In other words, the child doesn't feel safe, even though it is safe.
She'll be fed. The child feels abandoned, like she's been she's been abandoned.
I mean, it's all right. I don't think it was
what?
compelling.
I'll polish it and I'll come back.
Okay.
Give me a second chance with that one.
Let's just hold on to the virtual reality is a hard one to compete with. Let's just hold on to that as we read this verse, okay? The body of such a body, which means the virtual body, right? The body within the dream.
Right.
Which is the bodies that we feel like we're inhabiting right now. The body of such a liberated yogi, along with the senses, is taken charge of by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it functions until its destined activities are finished. You're still going to get these pains and pleasures and so on. The liberated devotee, right? They're liberated because they realize that this virtual body is not me. The liberated devotee, being awake to their constitutional position, right? The one that's actually plugged into the virtual reality, that's the constitutional position, and thus situated in samadhi, the highest perfectional stage of yoga, does not accept the byproducts of the material body as their own, right? That body itself, that virtual body, and everything that's connected to that virtual body in the virtual reality. Thus, he considers his bodily activities to be like the activities of a body in a dream, right? He's just laying it all out there. Yeah. So why don't we read the comment? Oh, we're running out of time. Maybe we got.
Oh, it's 58.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe it's time for the. You want to read it quick? Just read it.
Just read it quick, right?
See what Prabhupada say. Yeah.
All right. This is a good one. The following questions may be posed. As long as the liberated soul is in contact with the body, why don't the bodily activities affect him? Doesn't he actually become contaminated by the action and reaction of the material activities? In answer to such questions, this verse explains that the material body of a liberated soul is taken charge of by the personality of Godhead. It is not acting due to the living force of the living entity. It is simply acting as a reaction to past activities. Oh, okay. I think it's officially time to end the show because Vishwambar is leaving.
Everyone, you can tune in on YouTube, Alachua Kirtan. It's
say
called
that
the Festival of the Holy Name here in Alachua. And Raghu will be singing, Gauravani singing, so many of our favorite Kirtaniyas will be singing.
Prabhuji is singing.
Please tune in. Festival of the Holy Name.
Thank you, Prabhu. Love you. I'll see you down there. Yes. Okay. Gotta wrap it up here.
Mara.
Yeah, takeaways.
Takeaway time.
Surrender it all and you'll be provided for.
Yep.
Nice.
Pleasure and pain are due to false ego. Give
Yep.
all of your fruits to Krishna.
Mhm.
One's actual
I
relationship.
like that. I like that. That's a t-shirt.
Give all of
Give all your fruits to Krishna.
One's actual relationship is eternally that of love.
Hmm.
There's no happiness. It's all distress.
Bad t-shirt. I wouldn't wear that one around.
The opposite of it's all good.
It's
No
all
one's
bad.
buying that shirt.
Our loss and pain are a benevolent plan to connect us to God. Return on investment is only found in spiritual life.
Like it.
We want to be used. Krishna, use me.
Use me.
I like Michael McClellan's. It's either depressing or enlightening to think deeply. And then Karuna wrote about that other one, Bad Tattoo. That is funny, Karuna. That is super funny. It's very funny. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. And have a great Black Friday today. I think it's going to be wonderful. Actually, we are going against Black Friday, and we're going to sing and chant all day long. We encourage you to do the same. This is our biggest savings. We are saving our life by investing in transcendental sound. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We're always impressed by the Zoomers for showing up on a regular basis. Those who joined late that I didn't say good morning to, like Nitai Lieberman, my man, who's coming to Kirtan today. Jacob C. Uding, good morning, brother.